Okay, everybody, we are here with Dr. Areli. She is known as Raw Vegan Doctor on Instagram, and she has been to the UK Fruit Festival. Next time, she's coming to the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and she's just a really amazing example and beacon of light for not only a thriving raw vegan, but someone from the medical profession, a doctor, no less, which is not always so common in the raw vegan community. So we're really, really grateful that we have her voice in this community and her example for everybody. And we wanted to talk to Dr. Areli today, maybe a bit about her experience with raw veganism, what got her here, and also about how eating a fruit-based diet is a great way to cleanse the body. And because we're coming to the end of March, spring is on its way, we'd love to hear her expertise about it. So thanks for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Definitely. I mean, as you mentioned, I'm a medical doctor and my work is very sedentary. If it wasn't for a raw vegan diet, I wouldn't be able to perform at my best. I think diet is, one of the most important things that we can control. We cannot control the environment. We cannot control the lockdowns or the bad news that we see every single day. But if we control what we put in our body, we're going to definitely excel at everything that we do in life. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to discuss whatever you have in mind about spring cleaning, how to detoxify your body. I mean, I don't know, you want me to just talk or you can ask me questions?
Sure. Well, I'd kind of like to hear a bit about your background first. Not
Oh,
only
okay.
with raw foods, but how did raw veganism come into your world as a medical professional?
Right. Well, I was born, raised in Mexico, and you're in Mexico right
Yeah.
now, as I am aware.
Yep.
Mexican kids grow up eating standard Western diet, a little bit healthier, if you ask me. For example, in my case, I grew up eating lots of fruits and vegetables growing from my own garden, but cheese, milk, dairy, meat, bread, all refined grains are very, very predominant in the diet of Mexicans, depending on if it's in the north and central and the south part of Mexico is different. Probably like North Mexico is more Tex-Mex, more meat-based, but Central Mexico, South Mexico is more like a plant-based but processed. So I grew up that way, eating tortillas, bread, milk twice a day, eggs probably twice a day, all the greasy stuff that you can imagine that comes with meat-based dishes. Basically, Mexican, how can I say, cuisine is very famous for being high in fat. A lot of cream. We call it cream. I don't know in the States how it's called or in America, but yeah.
It's like sour cream. The texture is like sour cream, but the flavor's not sour.
Exactly. So that's how we grew up. So I grew up eating that way. So I didn't know anything about diet. I always struggled with being overweight since I was in probably fourth year until my 15, 16 years old. So all part of my adolescence, I was struggling in silence. Like I want to lose weight, but nobody knew. And I didn't know that what you eat matters. I used to exercise like crazy, but no results whatsoever. So I grew up with a lot of health issues. I was overweight. That was obviously the most evident one, but I had acne. I had cellulite. I was 17 years old and I started to develop cellulite and varicose veins, not like the big ones that you see in, grandmas, but like spider veins in my legs. And I was like 17 years old. And I was like, what is this? I mean, I'm still a teenager. This is not nice. So I went into medical school to make things worse, very sedentary, just surviving, just to kind of performing at my best, but not taking care of my body, lots of coffee, etc. In Mexico, we have something called internship, which is the 5th year of your medical career, where you basically live in the hospital for a year. You have long nights, shifts. Sometimes you don't sleep for 48 hours straight. And I used to survive that in my 5th year with a lot of meals, during midnight, just to keep admitting patients, doing a lot of emergency procedures. That's what an intern does. So I had to survive. And after my internship year, gained a lot of weight. I was at the highest peak of my weight in my life. I was like borderline kind of overweight. I don't remember exactly, but a lot and I feel terrible, plus the acne and all that. So I came across the Atkins diet because I knew that that was something to lose weight. So imagine that, not knowing about nutrition all my medical career. Obviously, medical students don't receive enough nutritional science during the career. If I remember correctly, I can count 24 hours of nutrition education during 6 years of medical career. That's ridiculous. We have pharmacology one is one semester. We have pharmacology to another semester. So basically a year of pharmacology and less than 24 hours of nutrition. That tells you something. So yeah, I was overweight. I did the Atkins diet for weight loss purposes. And I did lose weight. However, I didn't feel at my best. I was always dependent on coffee. Uh, the acne, the bad skin problem still persisted. And I just informed myself more because now I had more time. Now that I left internship and I was in my social service in Mexico, we have something called social service where you serve for free 1 year the people, because basically medical education is relatively free in Mexico. So you have to pay back to society for your education. So I went to a rural community to serve them for a year for free, minimum pay, obviously. But in that year, I just realized, you know what, I have more time. Let me educate myself about nutrition. Came across vegetarianism. I follow a vegetarian diet after reading about it for another 3 years, but still the acne, being overweight, fluid retention, varicose veins, cellulite was still there, despite a lot of exercise. I've always exercised a lot just to beat that overweight problem. And then it wasn't until I watched a documentary called Earthlings, where I became vegan, and eliminating dairy was like a breakthrough for me. My skin cleared up out, no acne. The cellulite was almost gone. The varicose vein started to disappear miraculously. I never thought it would be possible. I always was thinking, okay, once I get a job, I'm gonna do all these laser procedures, but they went away. I mean, I don't have them anymore. It's amazing. Wow. And that only with just ditching milk and cheese, because I was addicted to cheese, obviously, and eggs. So one thing led to the other, and then I came across many YouTubers. That was back in the early 2000s. I knew about raw veganism, but I didn't implement it on myself until I was high raw, maybe like in 2016 to 2018. I have a 2-year period of back and forth, healthy cooked vegan food, and then weeks of raw, and then the weekend again cooked food, back and forth until I knew that I had to make the next step. And that was my commitment that I did for January 1st, 2018. And I've been raw since then. I mean, it will be dishonest if I say that I've been 100% raw all these 3 years. I can count the occasions where I was not prepared and I had to eat cooked food, but I always opted for the healthiest option. But out of all those 3 years, I can really count those occasions. So I have been raw vegan. Obviously, lifestyle, sleep deprivation changes. I moved to different continents in this 3-year period. I was in San Francisco. I moved to the UK. I worked there for 2 years. Then I moved back to the US. Right now, I'm in the US since last winter, or we're almost, this is spring. So 3 months ago. So it's been challenging for me, but I think raw veganism has kept me in my way. If there is weight fluctuations, especially now with this subject that we're going to discuss, the spring cleansing, the weight fluctuations that I experience are usually in the winter. And I was in the UK, so it's cold. So you have to, probably our bodies are wise just to increase a little bit of weight for insulation purposes, maybe. But other than that, I'm so ready for spring, so I can eat mono meals, Melon Island, and all that. So that's in a nutshell my story.
Yeah, wow, that's a really, really profound story, especially with all of the physical changes that you experienced in your diet.
Right.
I'm curious what the biggest changes were when you went from healthy vegan to raw vegan.
Sure. So I've been always a runner, and I think not always, but since I wanted to lose weight, I adopted that sport for me just to keep my weight or trying to lose weight. So when I was eating healthy vegan food, I always relied on coffee just because my dinners were super like complex in terms of rice or rice with, I don't know, sweet potatoes or grains, things like that, Buddha balls that are vegan, but they're complex. We don't realize how hard those type of food are for our body that until we eliminate them. And I was always bloated or waking up with, very like, oh, I don't want to wake up for my run or something like that. I need to probably drink just a little bit of coffee just to turn on myself. But since I went raw, I don't need that. I don't immediately, I mean, this is gross, but immediately after wake up, I go to the toilet, number 1 and 2, no effort whatsoever. And I feel so light and I go for my run, no problem. So my digestion problems changed tremendously. They changed for the good, or sorry, for the better when I switched to veganism because I eliminated dairy. Dairy was causing me a lot of constipation.
Right.
But since I incorporated raw foods, I no longer had this bloating sensation. I no longer felt heavy. The energy is just like natural on me. Like right now is, what time is it? Like almost 8 p.m. I woke up since like probably before 6 a.m. No coffee, nothing. And it's just raw food. And I still have energy, even though it's age, like makeup is running down and all that. But I just feel amazing. At the end of the day, sometimes when I eat cooked food, because when you eat cooked vegan food, it doesn't taste good unless you put oil or salt.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the salt is a no-no. I learned that the hard way. I always thought, why I always run, I'm always puffy. I always struggle with fluid elimination out of my body. I have bad circulation. It's probably genetic. I don't know, probably predisposition from my family. So I tend to retain a lot of fluid and water. And if I put salt, oh my God, I will feel like super bloated and look super bloated. So at the end of the day, when we eat lots of water in our raw vegan diet, obviously that fluid tends to retain a little bit. Right now, I don't look as slim as I look in the morning after my run because I eliminated lots of fluids, but I don't look terrible. Like when I used to eat cooked vegan food. With cooked vegan food, the combination of oil and salt, and obviously the cooking process that changes the biochemical structure of food per se, that's definitely some sort of a mini inflammation that we inflict in our bodies. And that definitely makes us puffy. And in the long run, if it's healthy, okay, the body can manage it. But if it's French fries or something that generate trans fat and oxidative foods that propitiate the oxidative stress in our bodies, that definitely will damage or alter some of our metabolic functions, and you get all these chronic diseases. So for me, that was a big change, fluid retention, constipation, energy overall.
Wow. And you
Yeah.
had, it was really interesting to hear you say how big of a change you experienced when you eliminated dairy. And you said that, of course, I was addicted to cheese. So why is that? Why is it that cheese is the hardest thing for people to quit when they try to go vegan?
Yeah. So cheese has different proteins and hormones. Some of them are called or are analogs of morphine. I don't remember the particular biochemical name for that, but it's related to the morphine family. I don't know if it's casein. I don't want to be wrong. Maybe I have to check that. I learned that when I took my plant-based nutrition certification, but it's a specific substance that resembles morphine. So if you're addicted to, I mean, why do we have an opioid crisis in this country? Because people are addicted to opioids, to things that makes us feel good, because they have serotonin and tryptophan. So those substances are necessary for us to feel good. So it's an addiction. We are addicted. We don't realize the type of chemicals that are in certain type of food until we eliminate them. And therefore we experience the withdrawal symptoms. And quitting cheese was one of the most difficult things for me ever. Same as quitting coffee. I think quitting coffee, it wasn't that hard, but quitting cheese, it took me years, you know.
Yeah, I can
So
definitely relate to that, but I think the science behind it is super interesting. So thanks for
yeah.
cool. So I guess let's get into detox now. Um,
Okay.
everybody, when people try a fruit-based diet or go raw vegan, most people experience pretty profound detox transformations, or maybe some really powerful detox symptoms sometimes. And, what is it about fruit that is such a powerful detoxifier? Why does that happen?
Well, first of all, I think in order for our bodies to flush all the toxins, we need something that is watery. We need something that doesn't dehydrate us. If we put, I don't know, baked potatoes, like the most innocuous thing that you can imagine, baked potatoes or vegan pasta or rice, all of that, even in order to cook them, you need water to hydrate that food. And then that's not enough. I mean, the food that needs to be cooked with water pulls water from the pot or whatever we, the input of water that we put in the cooking process. Then that's not enough for us to hydrate. It's just to keep it moist. The food is moist with that water. Now we put that tablespoon of mashed potatoes or something. If you put just like the potato in your mouth, even if it's boiled or watery or like mushy, you feel like you need to salivate. You cannot just like, you know, swallow it. You have to
Dry.
masticate it, emulsify it, and just think about it. In that single process, your body is pulling saliva. And what is saliva? Is water with some enzymes and mucus and some minerals. So you're pulling water out of your system. Then you swallow it, it reaches your stomach. You're secreting not only acid, but also some other enzymes. You're pulling water out of your stomach to emulsify everything, to make it liquid. Because remember, in order to absorb all those nutrients, it's not going to get absorbed in the size, not even the size of a microscopic molecule. It's going to be like minuscule. So you need to digest it really well, and you put more water, more acid. What is chloric acid? Water. It's watery. So once that bowl of food passes through the small bowel, you pull more water from your pancreas, all this trypsin, chymotrypsin, amylase, your bile, all of that is water. In the small bowel, you also have to have a watery environment to make your pumps work, like the sodium pumps, the calcium pumps, all this, in order to absorb, we need little pumps to make the wall permeable to the molecules to get absorbed into the circulation. They go to the liver, and then they go to the rest of the economy. But you have to pull water. And then once that passes by, obviously not everything gets absorbed. You just absorb what you need. The rest goes through your large bowel, your colon. And in the colon, you need more water to, make it move. Obviously, the peristaltic movements help, but in order to have like a fluidity in the environment, you need to have water. And in the colon, sometimes we reabsorb water, whatever was not used from our mouth to the colon, it gets reabsorbed, but you need to leave a little bit just to make it go away easily. So you get dehydrated just by doing that. Compare that if I eat, for example, I didn't finish this, but I was eating this for lunch, grapes. There is no water involved. We are actually hydrating ourselves. So when we flush our body constantly with our food, we are definitely helping our body the elimination process. And that just happened at the digestive level. Imagine making use of this water from my food to cleanse my respiratory tract, to cleanse my what's the name, eccrine glands for sweat production. Women periods require water. Men, they don't have periods, but for sperm production, all that is water. Glands in the lacrimal glands, water. Everything is water. Just to keep our skin moist is water. So it makes sense that if we hydrate ourselves not only with water but with food, which is structured water that gets actually absorbed better, it totally makes sense that it's going to help us cleanse better.
Yeah, actually, maybe for anyone watching this might say, okay, cool, need to stay hydrated. Well, I can just eat vegan food and drink tons of water. What would you say to that? Why does structured water and fruit do a better job at flushing you out than just relying on drinking water with cooked foods?
Yeah, because sometimes, for example, this one is supposedly smart water. Sorry for the plastic. I'm not perfect, but yeah, because so many vegans are very judgmental. Like, oh my God, yeah, I still use plastic. The smart water supposedly is, I think, alkaline. Not even alkaline. I think it's distilled water with some electrolytes. But that's something. If you think about it, it's a little bit processed. It didn't occur naturally unless I go to a spring water or rainwater, something like that. But I'm not saying that if you drink water, it doesn't hydrate you, but it's not the same. The exact reason why I don't have the specific, biochemical reaction that happens, but the water in fruits and vegetables is structured because it's exactly in the right amount that is recognizable for our body. Sometimes also the water needs to be in a gel form. If you squeeze a grape, it's not like, oh, like dropping from a sink or something. It's a little bit mucousy. I don't know how to describe it, like in a gel form. So I think that's part of the reason when we drink water, it just goes directly like that, and probably doesn't interact so much with our small bowel walls, all the linings inside us. And maybe this slightly solid composition of structured water in fruits and vegetables makes more surface time contact with our linings, and maybe that favors absorption. I'm just speculating, but
Interesting.
um, yeah.
Maybe one day there'll be research about that and we can all know.
Yeah, definitely.
So what would you say to anybody, maybe they are raw vegans currently or high raw, or maybe they're not at all, and they're interested in the idea of a spring cleaning for their bodies? What would you say, both to raw vegans and non-raw vegans, of what kind of diet would you recommend following for a few weeks or a month to kind of facilitate an even any detox, or maybe in the case of current raw vegans, an even better kind of detox?
Right. Well, there's so many modalities that you can do this, but I think the healthiest one and more sustainable and that you can function optimally is definitely mono meals of fruit or fruit islands, not banana islands, because that's not watery. I would rather do a melon island or grapes or oranges, things that are ripe and in season and they are sweet, and that you have access to it easily. Like, you're not gonna spend a lot of money on exotic fruit that you don't even can pay or afford. You have to focus on what is in the region, what is affordable, what can you live on at least for a week or something like that, just to help your body to come into the spring season. I think I'm going to do something like that, maybe with grapes and cucumbers, maybe for a week or so, because I gained a little bit of weight this winter for stress reasons and because of the cold. But yeah, it doesn't hurt you. I mean, you shouldn't feel afraid of it. If you get your calories, you're going to function optimally. Maybe you will feel lightheaded. Yeah, because you are eliminating things that no longer serve you. And that recirculation of toxins, because they got to get eliminated, it's going to make you feel maybe dizzy or maybe craving something that you are not supposed to be eating during your cleansing. But there's nothing to be afraid of. It's just, know what's going to happen and just embrace it. And when you have those feelings, say, it's working. Because
Mm-hmm.
otherwise it wouldn't be working if you feel like nothing is happening.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Wow. That's full of great information and super encouraging for anybody who wants to clean themselves up a little bit extra for the spring. So thank you so much for sharing all of your amazing expertise. We all really look up to you in the community. So I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. My pleasure. Anytime.